Okay, Mayor, it is 7 o'clock.
Okay, very good. Tonight is the February 2021 meeting of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Frostburg. Welcome, everyone, and roll call whenever you're ready.
Okay. Commissioner Donnie Carter,
Here.
Commissioner Nina Forsyth,
Here.
Commissioner Kevin Grove,
Here.
Commissioner Adam Ritchie,
Here.
and Mayor Robert Flanagan.
I am here, Liz. Thank you. We'll start out tonight with approval of the agenda. I need a motion and a second to approve the agenda for this evening.
I'll make
I
a
move.
motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And also approval of the minutes from some of our past meetings.
I move we approve the minutes of the past meetings.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Mayor and Commissioners reports and announcement, monthly reports of the city departments. I need a motion and a second to approve those.
Make a motion, we approve the reports.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And moving to public hearings, ordinance 2021-01.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you. Ordinance 2021 originated as a collaboration between the Finance and the Community Development Departments to officially codify a previous policy that we had in place, where if there were delinquent utility accounts for a particular rental property, we would not allow that property to be registered until those account balances were cleared. We then wanted to expand the policy somewhat to include building permits, occupancy permits, and grading permits, as well as rental registrations when there were unpaid taxes, utility fees, or fines associated with a specific property. Not expecting the pandemic to last as long as it has and to have the serious impact it's had on landlords as well as tenants. And in the interest of continuing to be able to ensure safe and fair housing in the city of Frostburg, we decided to remove the restrictions set forth in regard to rental housing registrations. That way, rental property owners would not be blocked from registering their properties, even if there were utility account arrears. And so that's, what we wanted to do to try to clean up that ordinance and be helpful and be respectful to landlords and continue with safe and fair housing. There may be some financial implications that Finance Director Jones might want to address, but if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Elaine, do you have anything?
Thank you. I don't have any additional comments. This has been the subject of a public hearing previously, so we are in agreement to change the rental housing exclusion at this time, and we'll revisit the ordinance later in the year.
So basically it's a temporary ordinance.
A temporary repeal of how we rewrote it. Yes.
For temporary repeal.
Yeah.
Yes, and if and when we do propose new language for you to consider to include rental housing back in these provisions, we'll have to be more specific when it comes to rental housing registration, because, for example, a tenant might be responsible for the water bill per the lease. So if it's only, 1 quarter behind, do we prevent the owner from registering? It gets complicated. So we need to be more specific when it comes to rental housing registration.
Makes sense.
And then secondly, we have combined sewer overflow. Chris, you're on.
Chris, I need you to start over. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Go ahead, Chris, all yours.
Something I realized today is March 3rd will be 20 years after we received our court order consent decree to eliminate our combined sewer overflows.
Yeah.
We've been in this thing for 20 years. The plan actually started in 2 years later because we had to develop a plan. And so this is basically will be our 18th year of doing projects. So from there, I'll talk about our existing projects. Winter shutdowns got the 2 active ones shut down. The Charles Street project is 99% complete and should, as soon as good weather hits, will be complete. And that was Charles Street and College Avenue. Stoyer Street, they worked a good bit of the winter. They're 25% complete. And on 9, which is 9B, 9C is 100% designed as of yesterday and delivered to Maryland Department of Environment for their approval so we can advertise that construction project for bids. So the Charles Street was a $2 million project. The Stoyer Street was a $2.6 million project. And the 9C will be a $1.6 million project, all of which we were very fortunate to receive about 87.5% grant for those projects. We've applied for the 10A project. Any day now, we should be hearing the results. Our staff, or Michael's, everybody feels certain that we're going to receive on that because we were rated high on the rating. 10B, we just applied for it into January. 10B will be part of Washington McCullough Street, and 10C will be the other part of Washington McCullough Street, which we plan to apply for next January, 2022, January. So if we're successful with 10B, that may be our biggest project ever. It's a $3.4 million project, which we're hoping to receive $3 million in grants. But we will not know about that until probably later this year, that how we're rated, and won't know for certain until the following March. Probably the most important thing we can do as a city, as citizens, as businesses, is remove our rain leaders and downspouts from the sewer system. That is probably one of the biggest parts of causing combined sewer overflows. And I'm sure in a couple years, we're going to have a program that will target that. So anybody can get it done sooner, it'd be great.
Very good. Thank you, Chris, for your time.
Any questions, please give me a call if any of them are, but that's pretty much it for today.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Finish up the old business, ordinance 2021-01.
Any questions?
We're good, Chris.
Thanks.
Sorry,
I
Mayor.
don't want to give up the mic, does he?
I don't know what's happening. Yes, ordinance 2020-01 was subject, 2021-01 was subject of a public hearing earlier tonight. There were no public comments received on that ordinance. So at this time, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2021-01 on second reading.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-01 on the second reading.
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. They said if there's no public comment, then roll call vote whenever you're ready, Liz.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Forsyth,
Yes.
Commissioner Grove,
Yes.
Commissioner Ritchie,
Yes.
and Mayor Robert Flanagan.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
To new business, resolution 2021-05. Liz.
Yes, as discussed at your work session, this is a RETSA or real estate tax set aside agreement that's been requested by the owner of the Prichard Farm subdivision. The agreement which is on your agenda, sets aside a portion of real estate taxes for a period of time, which the city holds in an escrow account, more or less, which then at the satisfaction of the completion of the city's satisfaction of the completion of the various infrastructure that the city becomes the owner of. So water lines, sewer lines, stormwater conveyance, streets, curbing, things like that, we will reimburse the developer for. The purpose of this is the costs of construction are comparable here to elsewhere in the country. However, the ability to sell the land at a premium does not exist. So it's very difficult to make any profit at all in doing a residential subdivision in Allegheny County with the current land values. So what this does, the county has a similar, very similar program in their charter, or in their code that allows county taxes to be set aside as well. So the combination of those two sets of funds does provide incentive for the developer to do subdivisions within the city limits, which is a good thing for Frostburg. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve resolution 2021-05.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-05.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Was there any public comment to this list?
No, sir.
Okay, then roll call vote when you're ready.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Forsyth,
Yes.
Commissioner Grove, Commissioner Grove,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Ritchie,
Yes.
and Mayor Flanagan.
Here, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And finally, resolution 2021-06, the change order.
I hope very much that this is the last change order for the
Oh,
Frostburg
sure,
Municipal
sure.
Center project. I'll blame this one on Nick.
Oh.
No, so the entire building in the plans from the beginning was to gut the entire building except for the jail cell area. There's 4 traditional jail cells, and then there's 2 other detention areas. One is the juvenile detention room, and the other has been converted to the prisoner processing room. So there was no work planned for the juvenile detention cell. But after being in the building and everything being upgraded, the porcelain sink and rickety metal toilet partition and disgusting toilet really looked like they needed to be replaced, especially in the interest of safety and just functionality. So the architect and the builder and I are going back and forth still a little bit on the exact design and choice of fixtures. But what this would do is create a new partition that provided privacy from the door looking in at the toilet area, but it would be designed so that it was ligature resistant, so eliminating any strangulation hazards. And then a toilet and a sink that are ligature resistant and just safer, and the people can't access the plumbing in it, so it can't be damaged and then flood the cell. So it protects the city, but it also protects the person that is in that cell. So the cost is somewhere around $4,500. The resolution that I've prepared for your consideration is subject to the approval of the project architect and in an amount not to exceed $5,000. I'm just trying to scope out which toilet fixture is the best fit for this. So if there's any questions on that or concerns, I'd be happy to answer them, but otherwise I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve resolution 2021-06.
I make a motion, we approve resolution 2021-06.
Second.
Okay, move to second. Any public comment, please?
No, not on this, Mayor.
Okay, roll call when you're ready.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Forsyth,
Yes.
Commissioner Grove,
Yes.
Commissioner Ritchie,
Yes.
and Mayor Flanagan.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Now moving to public comment. Now we have one written and you have another, we're gonna
Yes.
go live
Yes.
with. So whichever one you want to do first, Liz.
I will admit Ms. Kit Pepper to the Zoom meeting so she can speak live, but while she gets logged into the meeting, we'll go ahead with this comment that was submitted via the comment form. Let me minimize this so I can read it into the record for you.
Okay.
Kiona, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, so I can be corrected if anyone knows. Kiona Jones, she has submitted comment regarding recycling. Hello, I would like to discuss why the whole city of Frostburg does not recycle. I am extremely concerned about this situation because just throwing everything in the trash is not eco-friendly. If it is because of expenses, I would like to discuss how we can work toward raising money for this issue. I would also like to discuss creating another dog park. A lot of residents have dogs, but there is no place for dogs to really go play or go potty around the school, except for in people's yards. If we cannot pay for another dog park, can we discuss placing waste baggies around town and trash cans? I love this town and I want us to do better. Thank you. I know one comment that I do have on this is as a follow-up to the recycling conversations that were had at the work session last week. I have reached out to Bergmeyer's Hauling just to get a sense of what other options might be to consider a larger recycling program. I will also be reaching out to Sierra Wigfield at the county as part of those conversations. So I don't have much other to contribute to that right now, other than that, so.
Let us know what you find out.
Okay.
But we would like to continue the conversation about recycling, and we welcome Kiana Jones to join that conversation as well. You know, if she has any ideas that we hadn't thought of, you know, we'd welcome them.
Sure.
As far as the dog park goes, she mentioned a school. Do you know which school? If it's the high school or?
I'm sure it's the high school. A lot of people walk dogs around the high school.
Uh-huh. I know we do have the doggy waste bags in various places. I don't know where the closest one is around there. LJ probably knows.
Thanks, Nina. I'm actually not sure either if we have a pet waste bag dispenser and trash can that far east in town, if we're talking about Mountain Ridge High School. We definitely have them in our parks and downtown areas. Maybe that's something we should consider, is putting one further east, closer to the high school.
Yeah, if a lot of people are walking their dogs around there, then it probably would be a good idea.
Mhm.
So let's take it up at the green team meeting, or even before then. You probably don't have to wait until then.
Well, we might have to reach out
I
to
think-
Mountain
I
Ridge,
think the
Mountain
green
Ridge or
As
the
far as
county.
the property, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Green Team meeting would be a great place to bring that up, especially with the great relationship we've developed with some members of the Mountain Ridge High School Green Team and their advisor, Mr. Kozakowski.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can work something out that would be acceptable.
And I do have Miss Jones' contact information that doesn't appear on this public side of the form, but I can pass that along to LJ if you want
That's
to
great.
loop her into a green team meeting.
Okay,
Great.
very good.
I'd love to do that, and I'd love to share our recycling information that we have in place with her. And I think this is probably a good opportunity to share our recycling video on our Facebook page again.
Good thought. Very good. Anyone else?
Okay. Ms. Kit Pepper is here and she's unmuted. So whenever you're ready.
Hi, thanks for letting me address you directly. I appreciate it. I've asked for time on your schedule this evening on behalf of at least one resident of Frostburg who has had her water shut off for weeks now. I understand that currently there are 31 shutoffs, but that some of them are not in occupied households. Hopefully, this is the only person impacted by this long-term shutoff situation, in which case it'll be easy to quickly identify and implement a solution. The situation was brought to my attention through the food support program that the Garden Club has been doing for the, excuse me, the past several weeks. This woman was not able to purchase groceries because she was using her food stamp money to buy water so she could flush her toilet and maintain basic personal hygiene. We were able to get her grocery order paid for and delivered last week, and we're going to be doing that again this weekend. But a disabled woman living alone with no money and no water is heartbreaking on so many levels. I think it's essential that other residents going without water long-term be identified and assisted. I understand that privacy prohibits disclosure to the public, but information could be provided to these households through a communication from the city. Anyone who's dealing with a water shutoff that was done in the weeks after the state's 45-day payment plan opportunity expired should be included in this discussion. This will enable assistance efforts to be crafted for a specific solution and dollar amount and not create an open-ended situation. Once the amount due for all of those involved in the long-term shutoff situation is determined, I'm committed to organizing a fundraising project to assist in covering the amounts outstanding. I already have several people standing by to write checks. I had 2 dropped off this afternoon, and I feel certain we can put this situation behind us. However, there are things this city could consider today which would guarantee the success of this undertaking. As I understand it, you offered the minimum state mandated payment plan for the 45 days that was required by the governor's order, and did not have many takers. The person I talked with that I referred to in the beginning does not seem to be aware that she missed an opportunity for this or even that it existed. I feel certain the city made this information available, but people in hardship situations face unique challenges. The state order mandated this payment plan as a minimum and does not prohibit you from offering options above and beyond. I spent the afternoon looking at what other cities are doing, and there are many possibilities to help people who are caught in this situation. It is possible for you to put in place a similar payment plan option specifically for those people who are looking at long-term shutoff with no hope that it's going to come back on or have the resources to turn their water back on. I've had discussions with city staff this past week about placing liens on owner-occupied houses with large balances. In the case of the individual I'm referencing here, her house is in foreclosure with a considerable amount of equity involved. Staff felt it would cost $600 in legal fees to place a lien, but I called a title company and consulted with 2 attorneys. And they said if the owner is willing to agree to the lien, it should be less than $100 and could be even just $15 if we could get a paralegal to donate the services. This could be added to an overall amount. At least in this situation, the city would be getting their money in the next 12 months or so, probably as soon as the foreclosure ban is lifted. Both of these things could be looked at and implemented immediately, or at least a discussion started about them. There are a couple of things we could do long-term to avoid these situations. I have to tell you, I was heartbroken after talking to the city staff who've been trying to help some of these people, but their hands are somewhat tied and it's frustrating for them. I can't even imagine what that must be like. I would like to suggest, in addition to something happening today to help get this woman's water back on, that the city look at having a board or a committee of council appointed residents to facilitate these type of hardship situations. And make recommendations to the city council while also working to round up social services and other charitable efforts. This would assist with the privacy issue and also help staff to deal with these situations in a less stressful way. As an advocacy board, they could facilitate communications that enabled the hardship solutions. For example, owner-occupied residents who receive food stamps or energy assistance are eligible for waived bay restoration and stormwater fees for a year. I don't know if we're doing that in the city of Frostburg, but I know from the people that we've been helping through the food support program, we're buying them groceries so they can pay their water bill. And if their water bill was a little less, we'd have more grocery money to go around. A committee of this type could also research what other cities are doing and bring options before the council. And this would be something that would happen without any cost to the city because it would be volunteer, it would be structured volunteer assistance. Another thing that could be investigated would be the possibility of allowing people to add to their water payment a donation amount that would go into a community fund that would help people in dire need. If we had an advocacy committee, they could work out ways to make sure that that money was appropriately used and fairly used. I understand that making it easier for people not to pay their water bill can have undesirable consequences. However, having people go weeks without water in a pandemic should just be unacceptable, and it presents its own community health hazards. Won't go into too many details, but my research on this showed that the disposal of human waste gets very unpleasant when the individuals involved do not have the normal options available to them. If we could reach out and find anybody else who is in the same position that this woman is and identify the financial extent of the money that's owed, I think that we could do something good for our community in a way that wouldn't have undesirable consequences. Today, I want to ask you to empower city staff to use either the lien method or the payment plan method to allow this woman's water to be turned back on tomorrow. I will bring $1,000 to City Hall tomorrow to be held in escrow and utilized in a future program that would enable the disbursement of funds to those in need in a legal and council-approved manner. This $1,000 should be considered good faith funds to allow her water to be turned on pending the resolution of the issue by lien or payment plan. It should not be applied to her bill until these options are exhausted, since many of those options go away when the bill is paid. I have 2 other charitable organizations also looking at giving her money, but once her bill is paid, no matter who pays it, they can't help, and that's certainly understandable. The city has shown in the past that they have a great latitude in keeping water on for specific residents. And I respectfully ask that you show leadership today and get at least this one water account turned on and get the wheels in place to rally community support and new city policy for others who might be in the same shape. Thank you for your time.
Mayor, if I may jump in here and just offer some response.
Sure, let's try.
In terms of the payment plan, if this property owner communicates with City Hall tomorrow, we will do that. As indicated in an email earlier today, we have been working in these situations in the pandemic at even outside that 45-day window. If someone comes to us and communicates that hardship, we will work with them. In terms of the lien, I do not care for that option because it puts the city in a waiting period and with no defined end in sight of when we would get that money back. And
Right.
in a certain instance, perhaps, but we don't know all the other liens on a property without doing a title search and everything else. And the chances of even recouping money that's mortgaged, and it's difficult. We'd much rather offer payment plans, which we will do.
Okay.
In terms of the good faith money to hold in escrow that Ms. Pepper offered, unless Elaine feels otherwise, we would rather just work with you in good faith than be responsible for holding those charitable funds. I feel very strongly that the city will work. Structuring a board, as Ms. Pepper suggested, I think is a really good idea. It's going to take some time to figure out how that would best work and where that money should sit. But I'm committed to exploring that. And then, but we don't need to hold that $1,000 to work towards that goal. And then lastly, I'm sure Elaine would be happy to work on some communication to the other people on the shutoff list, that if they are in a situation where the need is dire and they either need a payment plan or they need assistance, that they would agree to let us share that information with Kids Organization. We'd be happy to do that as well. Just in going back in terms of timing on this, the advocacy board, we're limited on staff at City Hall with the few of us that work there, and we're getting ready to move. So I just need a few months before I can take that effort on, but that's something that I think is a good long-term suggestion, and it shows, it reflects the spirit of Frostburg.
Mhm.
Elizabeth, do we have any idea how many of those 31 are actually occupied?
I would guess it's between 5 and 7,
Okay.
potentially.
Do you know if any of them are families with children?
I do not. I do not. We've usually the way that we know the nature of a water shutoff and the family status is when they're involved in the code enforcement process. That's usually how we get more information, is because of other issues surrounding the property that get triggered in code enforcement.
Or sometimes if they email asking for forgiveness or
Yes.
something and they explain their situation.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Lynn, or Elizabeth, thank you. Kit, that, we good?
Her water is going to be turned back on tomorrow. I will go and get her and she needs to sign a payment plan. Do I need to bring her to City Hall, or can I pick up paperwork and take it to her? How is that going to work?
So Elaine, help me here. We would agree on a payment plan, and you would work up a agreement
Schedule.
sheet, and we would require that first payment and her signature to get her water turned back on, correct?
In general, we want to have some kind of documentation in writing. We don't always require that it be a signed statement. Sometimes with conditions, we accept email communication where someone affirms that they're in agreement. And as Commissioner Forsyth can attest, we have been working with many individuals over, all the time, and in particular, through COVID, to make payment arrangements possible. So part of what we have to understand is what is the property owner's ability to make payments as far as timing, so we can, document the plan for the payments. But we are certainly, anxious to work with people and restore water service.
Can I just reiterate that my coming to you tonight should not be construed as me saying the city did something wrong or they're not doing their job. This is more out of the context, or in my appeal to you is to help them do what they need to do, not because they're not doing it, but because it's an overwhelming situation. I have a huge amount of respect for everyone who works for the city, and I know how hard they work, and I appreciate it. And so, Elaine, Elizabeth, please don't take this as criticism in any way, shape, or form.
No, and I mean, it's the people, Elaine and the folks that work for Elaine have a very, it's a hard job, a lot of days. And, everyone does a really, I think, shows compassion to the best of their ability. But if we're able to create another resource that can help people out, I think that helps not only the community out, but it helps the city out as well.
No staff, yeah.
So thank you.
I really do like it as a long-term solution, because there are times, when people who haven't had the ability to pay, make all the rounds of all the organizations and just come up with nothing. And, they have no recourse then. So it's nice to have another option.
Okay.
So you'll get back to me on what I can do to facilitate her signing something and getting a first payment to you, which we'll take care of. I would really like to be able to tell her that her water is going to be on tomorrow night. Is that possible? If she signs the agreement?
I don't see any reason why not.
Okay.
I would just, like Elaine said, I would just, so that this isn't, so we're not just kicking the can down the road, so to speak, and to propose a payment plan that works for her, and then we'll review that and go from there.
Okay, we'll deal with that tomorrow then. And one more thing, since I referenced the Garden Club Food Support Program, and there might be people watching who can help us spread the word. The Garden Club has collected money for the past couple months, and what we're doing is a contactless grocery delivery program for people who don't have means to either get to the grocery store because the disabled buses have been interrupted, or just don't have the funds to buy groceries right now for whatever reason. And all you have to do is call City Hall during business hours and leave your name and telephone number with them, and they will contact us, and one of our volunteers will call you and help. You will tell them the specific groceries that you need. The volunteer will enter all of that into the grocery store order and tell you when your delivery is going to be. And then another volunteer goes and picks it up and delivers it. It's all contactless, so we don't have to worry about COVID exposure. And I can tell you all of the people that we've helped so far, and there have been quite a few, are people who would literally be going hungry without this help. So there's no questions. You don't have to qualify. You don't have to justify why you need groceries. Just call City Hall and say you need food support, and it will happen.
Could you,
Okay, thank you.
could you reiterate how people could donate to the program?
Yes, there are two ways. BB&T Bank set up a special account for us to hold all the donated money separate from our regular Garden Club stuff. So you can drive through BB&T and just leave a check and say, this is for the Garden Club Food Fund. You can put it in the mail. Our P.O. box is P.O. Box 615, Frostburg, Maryland, 21532. Or you can track me down and I will come pick up a check, or you can drop one off here, whichever is easier.
Thank you.
Very good. Thanks again, Kit. Is there any other public comments this evening, Elizabeth?
No, sir.
Chief, do you have something for us?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you. I have the Police Department report for you for the month of January 2021. And if you've had a chance to take a look at it, we changed the format slightly, which is something I've wanted to do. And we were kind of waiting for the new year to begin. So very similar to what we had before, but it better reflects how we track data, how we distinguish arrest types and stop types and those sorts of things. So this January, we had 582 incidents logged, and that's compared to 495 incidents from January of 2020. And one of the things I tried to do, some municipalities will be very, very expansive in their reporting, sometimes perhaps even more than what we would want to see here. But I think this captures some more of the types of day-to-day work that we do. We provide a very high level of service to the community. At least we certainly try hard to do that. And we try to be very immersed in the community. So in consequence, we handle a wide variety of incidents that can be things like school patrols or specific patrol checks of locations, to well-being checks, to assisting broken down motorists, to enforcement, all kinds of things. And there are so many different types of incidents. I just tried to capture some of the ones that are more frequent and show a bit more of our public service and community service function. So you can see we had 6 arrests of various types over the month of January, a couple of civil citations, 2 C3I cases, 73 parking tickets and warnings, a number of public service incidents, 16 well-being checks, 4 emergency petitions. Those are where we check on somebody or handle an incident and we find out somebody has an apparent mental or emotional health problem and they are a threat of physical harm to themselves or others, and we take them to the hospital for a mental health evaluation. I also listed assist other agencies. That could be social services, that could be other law enforcement agencies, that could be the fire department, all sorts of entities there. And follow-ups could include really any follow-up to an incident, often criminal investigations or locating witnesses or taking statements or just doing some kind of after-the-fact activity. And of course, you can see the traffic data there. Still a pretty low number of crashes. And I think that's a reflection of lesser activity still. I mean, we still have a significantly fewer students in the area at the university than we are typically used to seeing. And I still think locally people are staying home and to an extent limiting activity. And of course, you just don't have a lot of the regular hustle and bustle with the schools and sporting activities and big events. So and you can see at the end there, we made 98 traffic stops throughout the month. So the COVID vaccine has been disseminated and made available to first responders, including the police department. So I think as that, as that processes through and becomes more available, we'll be able to be more proactive in doing some of our grant funded enforcement and some of our other tasks as well. So I think we'll see more activity in the future, but we always work very hard to serve you and our city very well, and we are very proud to do it. So we thank you for the opportunity. If you have any questions or you'd like me to elaborate further, I'd certainly be glad to. Otherwise, that would conclude my report.
All right. Very good, Chief. Anyone have anything for Chief Neck? All right, Chief, you're off the hook.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, sir. All right. Anyone have anything else for the good of the evening?
Nope.
Okay. If not,